Hello, and you're all very welcome along to Series 4, Episode 4 of Champ.ie's Road to Cheltenham Challenge, brought to you in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicates.Racing. Talking all things Cheltenham, the top performances over the 7 days, and answering your hashtag big questions every Monday. Barry and Ronan will once again go head to head, giving one Ante-Post selection each week until the 2024 festival in March.
Back on turn for the final flight. Ante-Post over in front. From Ante-Post, they got 200 yards to go. Ante-Post on the outside, showing great resolve as they run up to the last 50 yards. This year is lowering the colours of Ante-Post. Ante-Post wins back-to-back Hatton's race. From Ante-Post, Ashroad Diamond, Zani here.
Showing over 44 points profit from 132 point stake since 2020, the Champ.ie Road to Cheltenham Challenge show is this season bidding to secure 4 years of Ante-Post profit in a row. The lads look forward to discussing your Week 4 selections, and don't forget it's important to update your full Ante-Post portfolio in the comments to help us keep track. Give this video a like for more Cheltenham content, and be sure to subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 4, series 4 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge with myself and the Doyle and Groome, proudly in association with our sponsors, of course, Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racecourse in the southeast of Ireland. Boylesports, our betting partner, in Syndicates.Racing, the Syndicate Ronan Groome, to get you to the big days for affordable prices, and that is for sure. Speaking of big days, it's a Hatton's full of grace. Ante-Post, what a weekend. And you were up there at Fairyhouse.
I was. Good to see. It's the Mead man, Gordon Elliott, putting the champion, Willie Mullins, in his place up in his backyard. So we'll wait to see what further happens this season. But 600,000 clear now, Gordon, in the Trainers' Championship. Jack Kennedy, 23 winners clear. Paul Tennant. I wonder, is there a few alarm bells ringing down in Clesutton? What do you reckon?
Is this the whole Carlow versus Mead thing breaking out on the podcast once again? He's had some start to the season, Gordon Elliott, hasn't he? But Willie Mullins' horses...
41 winners in November.
41 winners. Ante-Post. We'll come on to, obviously, the Hatton's Grace, Firefox. We had Halka Dutebert given a really big mention on last week's show. Obviously, found a 50, ran a good race for a long time in the Drinmore, and so, of course, he did have the 1-2 in the Royal Bond as well. So horses running out of their skin, but don't be getting ahead of yourself now, County Mead man. We'll see who'll be smiling.
You have to sing when you're winning, Basil.
At Christmas. And we'll also see what's happening at the back end of Cheltenham. But Gordon, great to see. It's good for Irish racing, in fairness. And we went into the weekend saying, Roland, that
absolutely.
Gavin Cromwell was going to have a cracking weekend. I'd say he'll be disappointed with results over the weekend. Obviously, in Canto Bruno, he did mention at the ground maybe a slight issue for him coming into the Royal Bond. But no excuses for let's be clear about it. And let's be clear about that one, because he had his own way out in front, said jumped very well in the main. But in fairness, emptied quite badly, I thought, in the end, and absolutely no excuses for him. And I just have to say, you were up there, Ronan, but I didn't think it was the most vintage Royal Bond meeting as a whole. I'm not sure. There's a good couple of performances. We're going to come on to the star ratings in just a moment, but I thought overall the Drinmore and the Royal Bond, in terms of Cheltenham and festival clues, I'm not sure I'd be following either of those races.
No, you're right. That's the general gist and general feeling. I got people talking to them even last night, just having a pint down in the pub of people who've been racing and stuff, and chatting, just say, Jesus, probably wasn't the best meeting that I've been to, the triple grade 1 meeting, you know, and we'll probably end up making more of the horses that were winning maiden hurdles and beginners chases rather than those grade 1s, you know. I guess the Royal Bond was a bit messy, and the Drinmore was won by a horse that's not a novice anymore, and arguably shouldn't be even running in that race or allowed to run that race. And yeah, the Hatton's Grace, as you said, we'll get into depth with it, but it was a great race, but it was very slowly run, and it looked all ends up that the favourite was going to win easily, and then Ante-Post pulled it out the fire again. So that was admirable, and that got a good roar from the crowd. But bar those three grade ones, probably maybe we're comparing them to last year and we're thinking, gee, they were really good last year. And this year, maybe it's just gone back to a bit of the norm. But as you said yourself, I'm surprised if that has a huge effect on Cheltenham now, bar Tiapu.
First and foremost, kick us off, because on Saturday, we had a beginner's chase in Fairyhouse. And I thought it was a beginner's chase by name because, in truth, it could have been a graded chase.
Yeah, probably be the most interesting race of the weekend at Fairyhouse for sure. Both days. The four of them obviously very well touted before. This is Corbett's Cross, Three Card Bragg, Nick Rocket, and Monty Star. They all showed a reasonable amount of quality last season over in graded hurdles, and possibly going to be better chasers this year. And it was obviously the horse that had a bit of fitness on side that's come through late on to win. And Emmett Mullins was very I don't think we can take everything Emmett says to an absolute truth in it, I suppose, but he was playing down the results, saying it was just a race fitness thing from Corbett's Cross. But I did think he was good value now. He quickened up nicely. And Emmett was telling me before, anyway, when I was just chasing him for a few quotes and a couple of horses, that they're going to stay at 2.5 miles of Corbett's Cross until they have reason to change the trip. So trying to blend in, I suppose, the speed he showed last season over 2 miles and the staying ability over 3 miles into a 2.5 mile sort of trip. So could see him going for, the 2.5 at the Dublin Racing Festival maybe. I'm not sure, would they go to something at Christmas? Would they go down to Limerick for the 2.5? That could be interesting, but he did it nicely here. And I gave him 4 stars just because, as you said, it was such a good race, such well-touted runners beforehand.
He jumped a lot cleaner this time, Ronan.
Jumped a lot cleaner, and he wasn't as gassy as he was the first day, which was basically given as the result, the reason for him possibly not running up to his best. He ran a bit free there on the first circuit. Then we were running by the fences that were that were out of use because of the low sun, and that kind of jarred him up a bit, or got him racing a bit more enthusiastically than Mark Walsh would have liked. So that kind of gassiness might have left him there after that race, and he was much better here, and he quickened up. And as I said, I thought he was good value now for the whatever he won by. I think was it a length, 3/4 of a length, whatever. On 3 Card Bragg, I just bring him in here. I was quite pleased with him as well as a looking to get him on side at some point, maybe when you have a better idea what he might go for. Like, he had to make most of the running himself, and I don't think he's that type of horse that will make the running and be able to quicken up himself off his own pace. He'd nearly need to be dragged into the race and staying on better than anything else towards the end of the race. So I think he did quite well to finish, to beat everything off bar the winner, who we know was a good horse, was a good novice hurdler last season, and was very unlucky when he ran out in the Albert Bartlett. So I'd say there'll be a few winners out of this, grade 1 winners, and looking forward to seeing how they all get on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In relation to Corbett's Cross and JP McManus's team of novice chasers this year, obviously disappointing. Iroko, you were a big fan of the horse. He's obviously injured and out for the season. But when you have the likes of Corbett's Cross in the pocket, 7-1 and 8-1 respectively for the Turners novice chase, it'd be interesting to see how they split them. And for me, I thought in the pocket, stepping up and trip could be the way to go. I think Corbett's Cross could go either way. He's showed enough pace. Thought he showed enough pace at the weekend. Showed a nice turn of foot off the back of the last. Obviously, match fitness on side, but I thought it was a very snug performance. And he's a talented horse. That, last year, obviously, argument is to be said, would he have actually went on and won the Albert Bartlett if he didn't run out at the last? He was still full of running. And I think he's definitely a grade 1 animal, and will be winning grade 1s this season, I think, over fences. And then you have, obviously, the likes of Fact to Foil. I mean, what do you do with him? Do you give up on him as of yet? JP, his team of novice chasers this year, as good as I can remember for quite some time in terms of a team of novice chasers. But Corbett's Cross, 4-star, absolutely rock solid performance. Sticking with the team, Ronan Groome, sticking with JP McManus. Let's cross over to Newbury. Of course, the big talking horse after that gallop at Newbury, of course, at the Newbury Gallops morning. Jericho the Repine, 40-1 the second, 40-1 the third. How literally can we take this? Because you've gone 3.5.
Yeah, I went to 3.5. I can actually bring in Firefox here because, I've gone 4 stars for Firefox and 3.5 for Jericho de Repine. So Jericho de Repine has won easily and very pleasing on the eye the way he's done it. But did he achieve much more than running in a racecourse gallop here? Because I'm not sure what the form has worked in behind him, and they went probably a very sedate pace, and he's just picked them off. Yeah, he looked nice. He came back on the bridle for a second. It looked like Nico was going to get a bit more serious with him, and then he just came back on the bridle and he won as he liked. But what did he actually achieve in form? Did he actually learn anything as well? You know, what's it going to be like running in a faster pace? I think you're better served judging him from that. Whereas with Firefox, like, we learned a bit more here. Obviously he's beaten a very good horse, a very well touted horse in Ballyburn, who seemed to be, from all intents and purposes, seemed to be the talking horse, or the one novice hurdler coming out of Willie Mullins this season. That was possibly the number one billing as such before any of them ran, and he's beat him quite comfortably. But he's quickened up well over 2 miles over hurdles, and he's jumped well, and you're getting that he probably is going to be better over 2.5 as well. So he's doing that over 2 miles, beating a good horse over 2 miles. And there's more to come from him over 2.5 miles. So that's why I was a bit more impressed with him and what he did, as opposed to Jericho de Repene, who, has won very nicely, very smoothly. But was he actually beaten, if you get my drift?
Nicky, for me, Ronan, people are talking about Wilmot would have stepped him up and trip to the Ballymore. He could easily do that. But I think Nicky has proven in the past that he can send 2, if not 3, to the Supreme Novices Hurdle. And I've no reason to believe why he would step Wilmot up and trip, given the fact how quick he jumped over his obstacles. I think compared to Jericho de Repene, I thought he gave 1 or 2 plenty of air down the back. He relaxed, he settled, but it was a very average renewal, I think, of this particular maiden hurdle at Newbury, which has thrown up, of course, nice types in the past. But 3.5 stars, I think you're absolutely spot on there. I wouldn't have went 3, did it nicely, but in terms of prospects later on in the season to win a Supreme Novices Hurdle, he's going to have to step up massively. It'll be interesting to see where they do send him next. But a nice horse going forward. But no more than that, I think we can say at this point in time. Firefox, just to pick up on what you said there, Ballyburn, I have a feeling you might disagree with me on this one, but I think Ballyburn, the vibes took a little bit of a drift before the off. He's going to come on massively for that. I thought the race was, I suppose, settled at the second last. Ballyburn absolutely nearly took it out of the ground, jumped well in the main up to that point, travelled lovely. 2 very good horses. I've heard comparisons, Fernie Hollow, Bob Ollinger, that type of a maiden hurdle. I think these 2 horses are definitely going to the top. And I think Ballyburn is 5-1 for the future Novices Hurdle at Leopardstown. I saw it with sponsors Boylesports. I think Firefox, you said he might go to Navan. He's 3-1 for it. If the 2 of them clashed again, I'm going to call it. Ballyburn, I think, might reverse that form with Firefox. I wouldn't be so sure that you'll see the same result next time. But 2 very good horses. He was very good, wasn't he, Firefox, in fairness?
I loved him. I thought he jumped really well. And I loved the way he was able to quicken away from Ballyburn. I appreciate that the mistake probably was a big moment in the race, but I thought he was good winner on the line, and the pair of them have obviously done well to come 12 lengths clear of anything else when it was a kind of a half slowly run race, So, just to expand on that, I think Gordon had suggested afterwards that the Navan Novice Hurdle, grade 2, might be next to Firefox. They might go there. Obviously, Nolan Valerie Moran from Navan and are living just outside it in Bective, and so they would like to go for races there, and that might be a better option for him, going up to 2.5 rather than staying 2 miles for Leopardstown at Christmas. Ballyburn could go there. Wasn't that the same race that Facile Vega won that maiden hurdle on this day last year, and then went for the 2 miles? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ballyburn did go to the grade 1.
I think it's the big debate now at Ballyburn, isn't it? I think Firefox likely to step up and trip, I think, to 2.5, and I think Ballyburn possibly the same. So we could see the 2 of these clash in the Ballymore. I would have had Ballyburn down as more of a Ballymore type myself going into the weekend, and I think that's reconfirmed it. The only thing is, if Willie obviously goes to that future novice and he wins over 2 miles, we're playing Mullins bingo again. So I think Ballyburn will end up in the Ballymore, and I do think similar Firefox. So we could have that clash once again perhaps over 2.5 miles on the Wednesday of Cheltenham. But in terms of the other star ratings, just to flag up on screen, Nürburgring, I've given him a 3.5 star. And I suppose it was a very good performance. I think this horse obviously has decent form on the flat. When we JJ Slevin on the show, of course, 2 weeks ago, he did put this horse up as a horse to follow this year. And, you know, I think he's went out and he's done it nicely for Joseph O'Brien. A winner over 1.5 miles. On the 1 mile and 5 furlongs, should I say, on the flat on testing ground. So he clearly stays well. And maybe a slight question mark, you know, I think the front two pulled 18 lengths clear of the third. Did the race perhaps on this ground? It was very testing ground for, you know, these young horses. I think Batman Girac was a big disappointment for Willie Mullins. But did the race maybe perhaps fall apart a little bit? Nonetheless, Nürburgring, I think he made a mistake. I think it was the middle flight down the back, and he's clattered. He put down at the third last. So that's the only thing you can fault the horse on. He travelled lovely. He was in the box seat under Richie Deegan, who, big shout out to Richie. He's landed a grade 3 here. I remember hurling against Richie once upon a time for St. Mullins. He was a good hurler back in the day as well, but it was nice to see him get a victory on board. Obviously, JJ Slevin rode the Mulroyn horse, but he's done it well. I thought he's battled lovely as well off the back of the last, and leaned in. Of course, he was thrown out down in the stall. He showed tendencies as well to show a little bit of greenness, I think, off the back of the last as well. But I think he got 2 flicks off Richie Deegan, and his comment afterwards was that, you know, he's won very, very snug in the end. So I wouldn't discount him for the likes of a Triumph Hurdle. That's Nürburgring. I think there could be a lot more to come from him. My question would be, you know, I suppose, how strong is the race? Did it fall apart perhaps in behind? We have to mention Hermes Allen for some of our British listeners here. They'll be saying Ronan Groome is biased once again towards Irish horses. But Hermes Allen, I've given him a 3-star rating. So it's probably me who's going to get the slack here, Ronan. But the second and the third, Nickelback and Marble Sands, I'm going to say it, I don't think they'd win a beginner's chase in Ireland. Certainly, we saw the level of beginner's chases in the last week. For me, he had a good cut at the first couple of fences, but I think he was a little bit more cautious after that. And he hit that flat spot as well. Nichols said he's going to keep him at 2.5 miles this year. At least he'd like to. And he hit a flat spot coming to 4 out. He had a wind surgery last year, so I wonder, has he a little bit of an issue with wind? And when he meets those better class of horses at the back end of the season, I wouldn't be rushing by any means to get involved in Hermes Allen for novice chases in the spring. What about you?
I'd be a bit more positive on him than you are, Basil. You're talking about, we're talking off air about this, we're talking about the horses in behind, like the runner-up is rated 147. So even if you think that's an inflated rating, he got that rating for a couple of wins. One of them was against Can Do Kid, who has gone on to win a couple of times for Paul Nicholls since as well. So even if you think that's an inflated rating, you know, he's still fairly put him in his place. He's won by 6 lengths and he stayed on well. I'm surprised that he's keen to stick at 2.5 miles for now. Nicholls was bemoaning the fact that there's no dipper chase option for him now, so he might run him at Cheltenham in a couple of weeks. There's a 2.5 mile there, I think, and then go to the Scilly Isles. But I was expecting to see this horse up at 3 miles this season, maybe be a Brown advisory horse. So it's interesting that he's sticking to 2.5 miles for now. I think the way that race ran, he got better as it went on. He jumped better as it went on, hit that flat spot, and then really stayed on strongly. I think eventually he's going to be at his best over 3 miles. Maybe he's a King George horse next year or something like that. Maybe even a Gold Cup prospect. But for now, they seem keen to stick to 2.5.
Well, I thought Kato Star, because his jumping was, in fairness, it wasn't bad for a first round in a inverted commas a grade 2 chase. It was a glorified grade 2 in my view. But I think he did shift slightly to his right, suggesting that I thought the obvious race would be the Kato Star novices chase, but maybe they're going that way with Stay Away Faye. I'm not entirely sure, but Hermes Allen, as I said, 3-star rating for me. Wasn't overly impressed with him. And then we come on to T Huppu. And Jerry Hannon, first of all, I mean, he just never fails, does he? in the Hatton's
How many
way.
stars?
Swinging off the
Are you
bend,
giving?
Ante-Post picks it up. T-Hoppo on his outside. Racing down towards the second last flight in the Hatton's grace. Ante-Post jumps to the front. T-Hoppo shaking up in the centre. Coming down towards the final flight. T-Hoppo comes to match him. Ante-Post jumps to the front. T-Hoppo is battling back on the near side. T-Hoppo is going to make it back-to-back Hatton's graces, lowering the colours of Ante-Post.
He's absolutely. It was some race. This was the race of the weekend, Mr. Groome, and the race of the season for me so far. This, of all the races we've seen this year, we're on episode 4 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. This was the race that got me now. I thought it had absolutely everything. And when you take, for example, Ashrow Diamond was left in her wake 30 lengths behind. I mean, people are talking about her as a mare's hurdle contender. But I thought everything was in the favour of Ante-Post in the fact that they went very, very steady early. I mean, Zana here, I think Gordon even said that himself, didn't he, in the aftermath, that he would have appreciated a little bit more of a stamina test for Tiupu. And he surprised me, the gears he's shown. I mean, swing it in off the final bend. We heard Jerry Hannon there. Ante-Post was absolutely cruising. And it was the pace coming to 2 out that impressed me with Tiupu. Obviously, he's got done for a little bit of pace coming down to the last, but he's grounded out. Jack Kennedy has said afterwards that he was in no doubt that this horse had improved. He's obviously going to be turning 7 now, heading towards the Cheltenham Festival. He ran a cracker in the race last year, but perhaps, Ronan, did the Galmai hurdle, Eddie won't like me saying this, but did it take the edge off him a little bit on that type of ground? Coming into the race, we mentioned on the Thursday show that his record fresh is exceptional. And when I heard Gordon Elliott saying, we're going straight to Cheltenham, I just smiled. I said, you've got that one spot on, because he's won 4 times fresh in the past, Tiupu, off the back of a 90-plus day absence. He's such a professional horse. I think Richard Pugh said in his commentary afterwards, you know, that he's everything that you want in a racehorse. The way he battles, he's so professional. I think Gordon called him an old gentleman after the race. And I have to say, I was never Tiupu's biggest fan. You know, he's not the horse that's captured my imagination. But after the weekend, I think he's head and shoulders above certainly what we have going towards the Stayers hurdle in March. And I think, you know, it's just hard to fault him. You know, 13 lengths clear of the likes of Ashrow Diamond, who's probably been a little bit too keen over the trip. Did she really get home or see out the race as well as she did maybe the Royal Bond last season? I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless, I thought the front two. We're going to tackle a question about Ante-Post in the big question segment, but he's run a fine race and he was probably a little bit too keen as well. And I would not give up on him, would you?
I'd be a bit more negative on him. I think like it was a very predictable race to beforehand. There was no pace on, and it was always probably obvious that Zana here was going to go off in front, but not at a very quick pace. And everything went in, you know, everything happened as Paul Townend would have thought it was going to happen, you know, beforehand. And you could see him taking a pull, turning for home, etc. And it was just like, if you're a champion hurdle horse now, you're going to put this to bed pretty quickly against a Stayers hurdle horse, you know. Talked about how the race is usually a better guide to the champion hurdle than the Stayers hurdle. So everything was in place when they went so slow. Like Tiupu's winning the race last season was an attritional race. It was real soft ground. They went fast and he stayed on better. Here he was in a speed test on, you know, off a slowly run pace. So I was pretty disappointed with Ante-Post, what he managed to do when he came off the bridle. And once Tiupu went up by him, he had no answer at all. Like even I will bring in the jockey element here. I think Jack Kennedy gave this a really, really good ride. I think he's riding out of his skin, which is no news to anyone because everyone can see that. But I think he might have just got the better of Paul Townend here as well. But either way you weigh it up, I was pretty disappointed with Ante-Post. I think for what he showed off the bridle, was disappointing. And I just wonder, and they're scratching their heads a bit now, thinking maybe, what do we do? What do we do from here?
Well, I'm the complete opposite. I'm impressed with both of them big time, because I think, you know, first run up into Up and Company, and I think you mentioned it was a speed test, but, you know, are we just maybe dismissing the speed that Tiupu showed over this type of distance? And as I said, coming down to the second last. I mean, I thought he showed, if Ante-Post was going to go and win the race and win it nicely, it was always going to be from 2 out, or maybe from the second last to the last. And I think that's where Ante-Post surprised me, at least anyway. And Ante-Post, you mentioned Paul Townend, for example. I mean, I'm not sure what more Paul could have done coming into the straight. It looks like Ante-Post is going to go and win the race the way he was traveling, but it was game over. Coming to the last, when Ante-Post is upsides, there's only one winner there. Stamina kicks in, and he goes and wins the race. And I thought it was race of the season, performance of the season from Ante-Post, and I'm going to give him a 5-star rating, Ronan Groome. So, next section of the show, it's taken a while, but there's been lots to get our teeth stuck into. Next section of the show is going to be the tracker horse, and we're going to come on to that after this.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullen's 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Alpha's Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, silver line, that'll be the finishing order.
It's a nervous time. We're just about to press go on our class of 2024 email. What does that mean? Well, we are bundling every one of our yearlings we bought together this year into one package to start with for you to get involved. Look, we've kind of stretched ourselves this year, I'm not going to lie. We've really pushed the boat out. We want to be #1, and to get to #1, you kind of need to buy the quality that we've accessed, I think, this year. That quality is exemplified, hopefully, by a Star Spangled Banner filly going to Joseph O'Brien, a classy Ravens Pass filly, hopefully targeting the Goffs Million. We have a gorgeous far above colt going to Tim Dunworth. I think he's a bullet, and he'll be going for 50 grand maidens at Chantilly, all going well. We have a far above going to Alice Haynes, one of the best trainers of 2-year-olds in the UK. We also didn't forget where our roots, and that's a bit of bargain placement buys like our Study of Man filly. She goes to Ollie Sangster, one of the most progressive trainers in the UK. It's important for us not only to support the Irish trainers, but our UK-based owners, and Ollie is a trainer we're really excited about. We didn't finish there though. We also bought an absolutely gorgeous Harry Angel, and Harry Angel, we think, Sire, is very underestimated, and this wasn't just a nice looking Harry Angel. She's a Harry Angel who's a half sister to a Coventry Stakes winner. It's an amazing team. Look, I kind of really went for it this year because I just thought there's an excitement with our owners, there's an excitement about what we're doing, and I really do think we're about to tow a supersonic with some of our syndicate members backing, and if we can do that, I really, really appreciate it if you would get stuck in.
GSI.
We had our vision for 2024 with this team. I don't think we've had a better team. I really don't think so. And I'm really excited to have you part of it. This is it. Our 2024 team is about to go live.
Yes, and of course, just to highlight as well, Christmas is coming. Plenty of dads, granddads, boyfriends, whatever you want to. There's plenty of presents to be bought, Ronan Groome. And I suppose Syndicates.Racing, thanks to Jack Cantillon and the guys, have given €50 off your first share in a racehorse today. Great stuff as well. Great video, of course. Syndicates.Racing did post online as well. Go check it out. The class of 2024. So not just National Hunt trainers. Of course, we have a flat spring, a spring and summer campaign as well with some nice flat types as well. So the catalogue has just been launched as well. So obviously on the National Hunt scene, Ronan Groome, Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, Henry the Bromhead, Joseph O'Brien, John McConnell, Gavin Cromwell, all the big names of the Irish training ranks. If you want to buy a horse, of course, any, of the horses on the Syndicates.Racing website. Pick your horse, type in Champ, all caps, into of course, the checkout, and you will be able to receive €50 off your first share today, just in time for Christmas. And just to highlight as well, of course, save 25% if you buy your Tayestes Day tickets early. You'll see the link in the description. You can scan the QR code online if you want to buy those Gowran Park tickets early ahead of the 25th. And I think finally, Ronan Groome, we will have Eddie Scally, of course, on the show this weekend to maybe launch a couple of little deals ahead of Tayestes Day. But I keep saying it, the big thing to do is take that Friday off work, the 26th of Friday, the 26th of January, should I say. It needs to be taken as well as the 25th, which is the Tayestes Day itself. It'll be great crack. Can't wait to be down there. Right. Tracker horse, Ronan Groome, of the weekend's racing. What have you come up with?
Yes, I'm going for Must Be Obeyed. Tom Gibney's mare, who ran third to Bride's Hill in the Mayor's Handicap Chase at Fairyhouse on Sunday. If you look at this mare's record, she doesn't have a great record fresh, and I thought she showed up quite well for a long journey, for a long part of the journey here over the 2-5. Was still in there pitching, turning for home, and Bride's Hill, obviously your race fit Bride's Hill, has come by her, and Queen Jane as well, who, in fairness to her, she was making her seasonal debut as well. She's ran a cracker and nearly run down the winner in the end. Bride's Hill's a real smart mare. She was off top weight, but she's real classy, and she had race fitness on side. And Must Be Obeyed, I think she's got like nice form over longer distances last season. She ran, nice races in the likes of there was a 3-mile handicap chase, I think it was a grade B at Nav, and she was fourth there to better times ahead. And I think she could be, one of the big 3 miles, maybe even the Tayestes could be her bag now. One, she has this run behind her, because if you look at her record for the last 2 seasons, she really has come on for her seasonal debut. So look out for her over like the likes 3 miles, maybe even a bit further on her next start. Maybe something like the Paddy Power could come into the agenda for her as well. This is Must Be Obeyed for the Tom Gibney team.
Yes, I've muted myself, but I'm going to come back in and give a tracker horse. Just to mention, Bertie's Ballet, a tracker horse from 2 weeks ago, is entered at Haydock at 110, and receives a nice bit of weight as well from the top weight, who is carrying a penalty. There's 2 winners in the lineup. This was second last time to Favour and Fortune, so don't miss out. I think it has a good chance on Wednesday at 110 at Haydock, provided, of course, racing goes ahead. Right, so this week's tracker horse, Ronan, I'm going to throw 2 into the mix once again. Done 2 last week. I'm going to throw 2 in this week. And the first one is Lord Baddesley. It's an 8-year-old son of Doyle, was trying, was racing for the first time over 2.5 miles in a 2-mile 6 handicap chase at Newbury on the Friday, and ran on like an absolute train. I probably wasn't the only one to see it, but was quite a patient ride Quite a patient ride. Stayed on very, very strongly to finish behind the impressive Inch House, of course, who's going places for John Joe O'Neill and John Joe Jr. So I thought it was a really good performance. Only beaten a length and a quarter on that occasion, and as mentioned, it was trying the trip for the first time. And I wouldn't be afraid to see it up and trip as well. Being by Diane, I think was doing his best work at the finish, and racing off 129, Ronan. That was his exact same mark as what it achieved over hurdles. It'll probably go up a few pounds for finishing second, I'd imagine, to Inch House. But I think it could be certainly capable. And one that caught my eye as well, Ronan, at Ireland on Thursday. And there was a good couple of performances. Obviously, Daddy Longlegs, fun, classic getaway. Plenty of people were giving a good shout to him. But in the same race won by Il Ete-Tomp, oh my lord, was second. And I thought he ran a fine debut to finish second, only beaten 4 lengths. And I would say there's a big, perhaps a novice handicap in him this season, or maybe he could go down maybe the same route if they got enough runs into him as maybe so Scottish last year, who obviously Emmett Mullins, he was sent off more or less favoured, wasn't he? Went off 11-2, so Scottish for the Burn Group play. But I think 2.5 miles, this was over 2-2. I think this horse is going to land a handicap. I thought he jumped very, very well. I think he's going to be a much better chaser. He was absolutely punted off the boards as well on his debut last year at Leopardstown when he fell He was backed into 5-2, and I think he was, double figure prices. So clearly one with, I think, a little bit of talent, and we're going to see a much better horse, I think, over fences this year. That's Oh My Lord. I think that was the horse I took out of Turles's card, which we saw Willie Mullins having a 5-timer on last Thursday. So going to side with him, Oh My Lord, as well. So 2 into the tracker for me and 1 for Roland. Must Be Obeyed. Perhaps, maybe a Tayesta's contender. Fintan Finnegan put this question in 6 days ago. We did kind of cover it off last week, but just to touch upon it again, Gordon, I think you've got this one wrong. Do not send Jerry Calam to the King George. He asked the question, do you feel the King George is the right race at Christmas or the Savills for Jerry Calam? Obviously, there's a big gamble last week. It looks a more open race. Willie Mullins sends Allaho to this, he'll win it. But you're a big Jerry Calam fan. I think it's the wrong race, the King George. What do you think?
I'd have no problem with it. I don't get this thing of he's slow. I think people get that into their head, and it clouds everything that they think, that they shoehorn a horse into a certain type of horse and think that that's what he is. It's a 3-mile race. He jumps well. He was winner over 2.5 miles twice last season in Grade 1s. So he clearly has a pace there to stay in the race. And I can see exactly why they'd look at the race, because it's not with Brave Man's Game disappointing. Excuse me. It just doesn't look that strong a race. What are they going to do with Shishkin now? Big problem there. What they're going to run him over hurdles or something? I don't know what the plan is exactly. So I can see exactly
Christmas
why
hurdle.
Gordon Elliott's not in the. Sorry,
I said the Christmas hurdle for Shishkin. It's Allaho versus Jerry Calam if both horses go. In my view, I think Brave Man's Game has been a big disappointment now this season, and that's the way I'd be leaning towards it. Just to very quickly touch upon Jennifer Emily's comment. Obviously, we mentioned Perret Pass. For me, I was impressed. I don't think you were as much impressed with Perret Pass. But in terms of, people are calling for him to go chasing already off the back of one run. I'd stay hurtling. I think Constitution Hill will have to be at his very best to beat the likes of, I suppose, the two-pronged Mullins attack of Stateman and Perret Pass. Don't be disheartened. Perret Pass and Ballyburn are going to come on massively. They're two very, very good horses. Perret Pass and Stateman, in relation to a champion hurdle bid, Constitution Hill is going to have to be at his very best once again to retain his crown, in my view. And I think I would have marginally at the moment, just quickly, Ronan, thoughts on this one, because it leads us on to this point. I'd have Stateman marginally above Perret Pass at this point in time, but I wouldn't be surprised if Perret Pass improves past him towards the back end of the season.
Maybe Stateman's pretty young horse as well, and he seems to be better this season. I think he's rock solid. I think Perret Pass has it all to do to surpass him in ratings this season. If you gave me a match bet, he would be rated higher at the end of the season. I'd take Stateman all day, personally. I think he'd be odds on in a match with Perret Pass.
I just don't give up on Perret Pass as of yet. It was a very good performance by the front two in that one. Right, Ronan Groome, loads of entries. Get your week 4 selection down below in the comments, of course. We've mentioned the portfolio spotlight. This is the first time we're really going to delve into the viewers' selections today. And I suppose goes to show you, Ronan Groome, the geography here of the viewers watching the show. We've gone to Belfast, to the northeast of Ireland. We've gone down to Kerry, to the southwest, and we've gone to the West Midlands as well. Plenty of UK viewers as well watching the show. But let's start with Brian Walker. Week 1 selection for Brian Walker. He's gone. Well, first of all, he's gone a Rocco, and second of all, he's calling for the transfer window already, which we will be introducing in January time. In terms of the rules, we're probably going to have one transfer play each in January, but we'll come to that at the time. I think it's a good feature to the show. That's obviously gone, his week 1 selection. Dysart Enos was impressive, but I suppose the question is, like Gordon Elliott, Willie Mullins, Henry the Bromhead, mares. It's going to have to be a very good horse to... 7-1. For me, it's a little bit skinny at the moment. Don't know your thoughts on that. Flooring Porter, just on Brian's selection for the Brown Advisory. I got a text message off Davey Boland when he listened back to the shows. Why do you think Flooring Porter is going to go back hurdling? And I just wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out. I think he's a better horse over hurdles. And I think this is an afterthought. I think the Brown Advisory, you'd want to be very brave backing him for any such race. I thought, he showed his quirks on many occasions, and obviously he's going the right way around. If he goes left-handed, it's going to suit him better. But for me, I don't see how Flooring Porter has improved for a fence. I don't see how he will. And I'd rather be with elsewhere.
Right, I disagree. I think that's not a bad bet, a bad play there, 20-1. Like, I would rule out his race completely from Punchestown. He just can't go that way. And even if you take that in hand, he's still done remarkably well, even to finish third, to be honest. Like, he's how much lengths has he given away at each fence? It'd be one for a Race IQ, the new thing Ruby Walsh is doing there on Racing TV to analyse. I didn't actually see if he did it or not, but the horse just cannot go that way. He's already winner at Cheltenham over fences, and obviously we know what he's done over hurdles at Cheltenham. So I wouldn't give up on that at all. I think that's a nice price. Personally, I wouldn't go back over hurdles. You're better off staying over fences. He's done all these. He's won a couple of stairs hurdles, and probably wasn't at his best last year over hurdles. What's they got to lose really by staying against novices over the 3 miles? Sometimes that race cuts up the Brown Advisory as well. So I would kick on and just rule out that race last day and go back left-handed and see what he can do.
On the other hand, Joe Moran's first selection is Giovinco, 16-1 for the Brown Advisory, and this is the type of horse now I'd like to profile for a Brown Advisory myself.
Yeah, he's interesting. Yeah, for sure. I haven't seen much of him yet. 16-1, I guess, is a nice price. The type of price you want to be taking for a race like the Brown Advisory that early, I suppose. I was looking at there's other selections. High Class Hero is an interesting one as well for Albert Bartlett. Plenty of experience over hurdles. I wouldn't be mad about the price at 12-1, considering what he's done against more or less summer form, I suppose you could say. And Ballyburn, obviously.
Ballyburn.
I think, Joe, to tell us what you think of what Ballyburn did, what your view was on. Were you happy with the run against Firefox? Were you a bit, down on the fact he was beaten first time out, or were you encouraged with what you saw with that sort of play for the Supreme?
Yeah, Ballyburn for me, if made no secret of it, I think 2.5 miles, I think he'll be a better horse. I know we've seen with the likes of Willie Mullins in the past, appreciated Vassal Vega, they've stuck with the 2 mile route. I think Ballyburn might step up and trip. So Supreme, I think that might be the issue there. A bit of Mullins bingo from Joe, but Giovinco, I think that's a good selection. I think they took fences out, didn't they, at Aintree? And I thought, his stamina's really come to the fore. That was the second run of the season. I think he's a really nice type. For the Cinder Russell, and obviously what he achieved over hurdles, Roland. I know they say it, the old cliche, whatever he does over hurdles is a bonus, but genuinely there was a lot of bonus with Giovinco because he's not a hurdler, and he's going to be a lovely, of course, a novice chaser this year towards the back end of the season. I could see him getting involved in grade ones for sure. Then we're off to Belfast. Paul Rogan, a good follower of the show from Belfast, Ireland. Firefox, 25-1 for the Albert Bartlett. I think you might have gone wrong race, Paul. I think Ronan might agree as well. Gaelic Warrior, 10-1 for the Turners. Now, that's a bet, Ronan Groome.
Very nice. Absolutely, yeah. He's got in before, obviously, the debut, and I imagine Paul was pretty pleased now with what he saw from the Warrior at Punchestown. You could not be pleased. And the more I think about it, the more I think the Turners is where he'll end up. He's reminding me a lot of Gallop and Deschamps, where Willie's just going to want to use his jumping, and I don't think they'll go back to 2 miles. So I think they'll split the difference there, go to 2.5, and use him as a powerful type of sort that can really get horses under pressure over that sort of trip.
Absolutely, Jericho, should I say, the Repine, 16-1 for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Obviously, that's with the sponsors, I think, with the 7 Barrow sponsors, it's been cut to 4-1 for the Supreme, but I'm not having it now. I need to see him again. You've obviously got a bit of value there, but
he's pretty pleased with that, I'd say. For all that the prices now probably are a bit short, you're not going to go any lower than 7 or 8-1, I suppose. From he has shown, like, he has basically backed up. To an extent, he has backed up the impression he's made. So from the chat, I guess, from that Racecourse gallop, and he's been talked of as a as a real top prospect now from the stable, which obviously counts for a lot as well.
I think Gaelic Warrior probably the top selection there from Paul Rogan at 10-1. Right, it's nearly time. By the way, get your selections down below. Make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're absolutely loving the engagement once again. And we want you to put your week 4 selection down below and continue to update. We've had over 90 entries, Ronan Groome. The spreadsheet, would you believe it, it's not even finished yet. But we're getting there. We're getting on top of it. So make sure to get your this week's selection down below. And of course, your big question for next week's episode as well. Any questions in relation to what we've seen in the National Hunt season so far, in relation to what we're going to see in the coming weeks, get it down below. Ronan Groome, it's time for week 4 selections. We'll be recapping on our portfolios to date as well. That'll be after this.
Granger and Patrick Mullins.
McGree had justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front was waiting for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, Silver Long. That'll be the finishing order.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
That time of the show again, Ronan Groome. Your week 4 selection is
Firefox for the Ballymore novices hurdle. Got a nice little enhancement out to 12-1. Look, I'm a bit annoyed with myself. I'm kicking myself not putting them up before at the 25s or the 20-1 that was available, because I've always been a fan of them. I think, Basil, you can vouch for me. Talking about him on the show earlier in the series, I've always liked him. I thought his form to beat Atlantique in a bumper last season is really good, and I think he's just been given plenty of time to mature. And it's all seems to be paying off. He must mention he did have a slight fitness advantage against Ballyburn as well, which might account for something. But I still think he was a pretty authoritative winner on the day, and I still think he'd be better over further. And it seems to me like the Ballymore is the obvious race for him. I appreciate the Paul had him there for the Albert Bartlett. I'd be disappointed if he ended up there. I don't think he's that type of horse. I think he has a turn of foot, which we've seen down the years is so effective in the Ballymore. So I'm pleased with what he was able to do over 2 miles. And I think he'll go next for the Navan Novice Hurdle, which is obviously 2.5 miles. Wouldn't be surprised if he ended up thrown into the Lawlers as well, if that all stacked up, to see what he can do there. And then obviously if he's in the Lawlers, then he's got a great chance of going for the Ballymore. And I just think he's a top prospect. I love what he did, and all the chat from people inside Gordon's who have ridden him and stuff like that. Even listened to Dennis O'Regan in a little clip there at Fairyhouse, and the preview for Fairyhouse on Saturday morning. He was really, really big on him. Said he rode him and was really impressed with him. So I'm keen to get him on side, and I think 12-1 is a nice little enhancement there from the good people at Boylesports.
Yes, absolutely. And you can avail of that offer. Of course, we'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But 12-1, enhanced out from 10-1. Looks a good price. Looks a horse going in the right direction for sure. And I think that race will work out very, very well in time as well. Of course, Ballyburn and Firefox, the front 2 coming well clear. So good selection, Ronan Groome. And I'd say no one will be surprised with this, Ronan. My selection for week number 4, 9-2, enhanced from 4-1. Conservative enough from the boys, but I'm not surprised. It was a very, very, very good performance. And looking at the Stairs Hurdle, obviously ran a cracker in the race last year. He's a year older now. very telling. I think Jack Kennedy was absolutely beaming after the race. I'm not sure did you speak to him, but I think the smile told it all. He was sure, Gordon was sure, everyone was sure this horse was after improving. And I think he's shown that against a top quality opponent over a trip short, a little bit short of his optimum. Obviously, they went a very slow pace as well early in the race, which is, so I think it can mark up the performance of Tiupu. In terms of the stairs hurdle, I was flirting with 6-1 last week before he ran, and I thought 9-2 was very, very, very fair. Considering, you know, I could see this horse going off 2-1, even shorter on the day. When Gordon Ames won this far out at the likes of a Cheltenham race, we've seen it, Tiger Roll Delta work, obviously in a different discipline, but he very rarely misses. And I just think going fresh is going to be key to his chances. So he's going to shorten all the way up to Cheltenham, provided obviously he gets has a clean bit of health all the way up to the festival. You know, I think that's the best price you're going to get anywhere on the market, 9-2. And I think that's a very, very fair price, considering, I suppose, Telem is the interesting one, really, in the stayers market. Obviously, finished ahead of Classical Dream, who's beaten Tiupu at the back end of last season. But this French horse is interesting. But we saw with the French form last year, I'm not entirely having that. I watch back his runs. For me, it looks like a horse that you could actually send over fences, this Teleme. Irish Point, next in the market for Rob Core as well. I'm not sure. I think Gordon will keep these apart. I don't think you'll see Irish Point in a stairs hurdle this year. I thought entry 2.5 mile looks the obvious spring target for him. Then you come down, West Balboa needs to improve, and Pere Pass isn't going to run in the race. Sire de Burle is about 90. And then you have, obviously, you know, the likes of Dashel Drasher. You're looking at Stay Away Faye, who's not even hurdling. What's going to come from left field? I see Tiupu, provided he gets a clean bit of health, and fingers crossed he does. I see him going off, you know, a third of this price on the day, and 9-2 looked. I was going to captain him, Ronan, but I think to be captaining someone after the Hatton's Grace meeting might be a little bit premature. So 9-2, I'm getting a solid one in this week. And just to recap on our selections to date: Allegory the Vassy, Gaelic Warrior, Look to the West for you, 20-1 big price. Firefox, I'm happy enough with Will Mounts at 16-1. I think Nicky could fire a couple of darts at the Supreme Novices hurdle, 16-1. Obviously, that's a much shorter price now. Mr. Policeman has a little bit of work to do, has quite a bit of work to do. I don't think he attacked his fences, to me, like an Arkle horse would. So it was a little bit underwhelmed by him, but don't give up on him. He's a very good horse. Halka Du to Bert, I'm very excited about her. I think she's been all the rage, hasn't she? Since last Monday, even 7 days ago, since we put her. She's, with some firms, she's halved in price. Tihupu, 9-2. I'm happy with the portfolio. I think Mr. Policeman is the one that we need to see improving. But in terms of your portfolio, Ronan Groome, are you happy enough to this point?
I'm relatively happy, yeah. I can see a lot of them. I have 2 solid ones and 2 kind of bigger priced ones. Obviously, the picture will change a lot with the Ballymore now that we get a few grade ones this Christmas, etc. But I can see him shortening up. I think he has potential to shorten quite a bit. And looking forward to seeing Look to the West again. I think she's a mare of a lot of potential as well.
She was very, very good. I thought she jumped a little bit to the right, though. That's the only thing I would say. And,
she did. She did.
And the other thing to mention, obviously, was very testing ground, but she's certainly one that has plenty of talent. Right. Let us know your week 4 selections down below. Get your big questions in. And, of course, we look forward to coming back after the Tingle Creek next week. I wouldn't say we'll have as much to discuss, Ronan Groome, but nonetheless, we're starting to build on the road to Cheltenham Challenge. And we absolutely really enjoy your participation down below, so don't be shy.